logic 0, example 32.4, straightforward with indirect proof. Okay, so let's look at the same problem that we started out with in the previous example. And as we saw, we reached an impasse here. It wasn't clear how we were going to get to our desired conclusion, because we were kind of just pretending like we weren't thinking of indirect proof. And sometimes that just happens naturally. You're not thinking indirect proof. Nothing suggests indirect proof, but you get to this point where it's like nothing's working. If you reach an impasse like that, think indirect proof. Think, okay, I'm going to negate the conclusion that we're trying to derive, and that's the most sort of non-sophisticated way of employing indirect proof is just suppose the negation of the conclusion you're trying to derive and see if you can actually derive a contradiction. So let's do that. So we're going to suppose the negation of our desired conclusion. And if we can get a contradiction of the form P and not P, then we're done. Okay. Line 5 looks like maybe it should have De Morgan applied to it. That kind of pops out and maybe helps us look at some of the premises and see what we could do here. So line 5, De Morgan. And we see that not A goes with line 1 and will give us B only of C. And not D, maybe if we use contraposition on line 3, not D or just modus tollens, but we could do contraposition and then use constructive dilemma maybe and get not A. And so there seems to be something here in this on this supposition that kind of drives us to not A. It's kind of implying that not A is true, but we're trying to ultimately derive A and D. So maybe we should do another supposition here. And it seems like lines 5 and 6 are driving us towards not A. So let's negate that. Let's suppose that it's not A. Because we're trying to get a contradiction here of the form P and not P. So we're trying to see if there's something in the premises and the supposition of the negation of the conclusion we're trying to derive. Is there some sort of self-contradictory statement there? And you kind of try to drive things in that direction. Okay, so and what's nice about not A in line 7 is now we can use disjunctive syllogism to get not D from line 6 and 7 by disjunctive syllogism. And not D then, as I was saying a little earlier, something that was popping out to me is look at line 3. We can get not A from lines 3 and 8 by modus tollens. And now we have not A and not A on lines 7 and 9 by conjunction introduction. That's a contradiction. That's the contradiction of the form P and not P, where the P is not A. Okay. And so now we can conclude from this inner indirect proof segment, not A, lines 7 through 10 by indirect proof. And then in line 12, we can get not A. Line 11, double negation. Okay, and not A gives us B from line 2 and 12 by disjunctive syllogism. And B gives us not C from line 4, 13, modus ponens. And let's see, not C, we can, in line 1, we can do not A and B, only of C, right? So exposition. And then we can get not A and B from 14 and 15 by modus tollens. Okay, then we have a contradiction shaping up here. Look at lines 12 and 13. We have not A and B, and then in line 16 we have the negation of that. So let's do this. Do not A and B, 12 and 13, conjunction introduction. And then we can do not A and B and not A and B from line 16 and 17, conjunction introduction. Again, and now we have a contradiction of the right form, P and not P. And this is our outer indirect proof. And so we can go back to our supposition here and we can negate that. So we get not A and D from lines 5 through 18 by indirect proof. And then we get our conclusion by double negation. And we're done. Okay, so this is a little bit of a convoluted proof. But we see that when we weren't thinking indirect proof, we were really at a loss. But when we just negated the conclusion we were trying to derive and then see what happens and really try to push things towards contradiction, then we got a result. And now the proof in the textbook is a little cleaner. Oh, except mine, I ended up with a one shorter line. Did I misapply a rule? I don't think so. I think I just took a slightly different approach. But the one in the textbook does use exposition here, so that makes the indirect proof segment shorter. Like, I certainly shortened that up. But I could make this even shorter in terms of the indirect proof segment by adding in that line 5. But there might be even a way of getting this into shorter lines. The point of this example is not to show you, the most elegant proof. It's just that we had a situation where we were really at an impasse, and indirect proof was the trick